interesting to discuss. Um, it's not. It's definitely news. You know what I mean? And it's kind of a little streaming warish. You know what I mean? At the same time, but this is coming from the Hollywood Reporter. This story actually broke today. This is by Kim Masters, and it says Warner Brothers film chairman Toby Emmerich floated for a new job. This says as the studio navigates its day and date HBO Max plan with talent, David Geffen pitches the exec to Netflix. All right, so I'm going to read just a little bit about this. If you want to read more about it, as always, I encourage you to go to the Hollywood Reporter and actually check this story out for yourself. So we're just going to give this just a little bit, and then we'll discuss it just briefly. With 18 months left on his contract, is Warner's film studio chairman Toby Emmerich exploring job opportunities? While it is far from clear that Emmerich will leave the studio after more than 20 years, sources tell the Hollywood Reporter that David Geffen in recent weeks placed a call to Netflix co-CEO Ted Sarandos to inquire whether there might be a possible role for Emmerich at Netflix. Geffen, 78, and Emmerich, 58, were both guests at a January dinner hosted by music mogul Jimmy, I guess it's Iovine. Again, apologies to anyone if I'm pronouncing your names incorrectly. It's not intentional. It's just I don't know how to say your name. Emmerich started out in the music world and worked at Atlantic Records from 1987 to 1992. Geffen had credited Atlantic co-founder Amit Ertgun with giving him a start in the record business. Sources close to Emmerich say he had no knowledge of Geffen making any calls on his behalf. Others with knowledge of the situation say top Netflix executives did not see a place for Emmerich at the streamer. A source close to Sarandos said no call was placed to him, and there was no discussion about a position. A Netflix spokesman declined to comment. Now, what I'm hearing is that this did go down, and there was basically, it looks like they're trying, that basically Toby Emmerich's done. His time is done at Warner Brothers. He's wanting to move on. He's trying to find somewhere else to go. Netflix would be a pretty nice coup, right? Pretty nice feather in the hat. And Netflix said, no, thank you. So it's kind of interesting because I've seen some different things where it seems like that he might have had an important hand in doing this day and date with the HBO Max, right? Like that was, partially, he had a hand in that. It's just curious. It's just curious because normally it seems like the Hollywood execs, they don't really feel the sting about, when they make, maybe not necessarily the best call on something. You know what I mean? But it's curious about this. I mean, what do you think about this, Eric?
It's really interesting because I don't know. It seems like a strange thing to do unless you had a pretty good indication that you were going to get a positive response. So it feels like he kind of like really misread the situation that he was in, which is really kind of odd to see with somebody with that kind of that's been in the industry for so long. And then the fact that it got leaked, that somebody decided to kind of throw him under the bus and basically, say that, yeah, he was looking for a job and they didn't want him. It's an odd story. It really is. It's kind of strange. In some ways, you end up, I wonder if it's like a little bit of a hit piece on the guy, if they're trying deliberately to make him look bad, or if he truly just made a miscalculation and he thought he was friends with this guy because apparently they had history together, and he thought that he might have a place there, and then they told him no. Who knows? It could be either way. I could definitely see Netflix feeling that they would gain by making an executive associated with HBO Max look bad. I mean, I could totally see that. Right. I could totally see them doing that. I don't have any reason to believe that Netflix is some benign organization that plays by any set of rules. When it comes to that sort of thing, he could have been set up. Straight up, he could have been set up. This guy could have put feelers out there that made it kind of sound like he had a place there. And he's like, hey, I've got somebody I know there, and I'm hearing that I'm welcome there, and I'm going to, put the inquiry out, officially. And I said no. And there was never any intention to to actually have him involved, because the whole intention was just to make him look bad and thus make HBO Max look bad. So who knows? It seems like, again, if that's not the scenario, it seems like a really bad miscalculation on his part by somebody who should know better.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting. Like I said, it was just like, it's weird because we don't really do show prep per se, you know what I mean? But we have our conversations before we go on the air, and a lot of times
Yeah.
I'll float things, to Eric. It's like, well, I don't know if this is necessarily worth talking about, but there was this, and there was this other thing, and then sometimes Eric goes, no, that's worth talking about. So that's why we're kind of addressing this in particular, because it is kind of a weird, curious thing, you know what I mean? That this guy, just was, his time at, Warner's is coming to an end. And a lot of times with the Hollywood exec, people like this gentleman here, I mean, that, something comes to an end and all of a sudden they wind up in this really amazing, awesome, super thing. It's like, wow, that's cool. How did he get that's what's, and it seems like that, it's just always, wine and roses. Right. So I just thought it was kind of an interesting thing that, Netflix is like, no, we're good.
Yeah. Yeah. That is a really interesting thing. Again, you can look at it either way. I think either he miscalculated horribly or he got set up. He got set up.
Yeah. And I am, I've talked about this before. I've made my own professional career mistakes. So I'm definitely not without, beyond criticism in the, wow, I read that situation wrong. So I've made amazing, what's the expression? Something out of a molehill. I forget what it is. Anyhow, I've definitely been done an amazing job of sticking my foot in my mouth and misread the situation to legendary, epic proportions on my own part. So I don't know. I just thought it was curious. It's just curious, And like I said, it's a bit of a slow news day too. So there's that too.
Yeah.
So,
but it is an interesting aspect, and actually, I do think it would actually be a pretty good. It actually fits pretty well into streaming wars, because I do think there could be a definite streaming wars aspect to this, that especially if it was sort of deliberate, that this was deliberately leaked and all that kind of stuff, just to kind of cut again, because he's associated with HBO Max. It does end up making HBO Max look kind of bad. Yes, and Hollywood Jackson, you're right. Making a mountain out of a molehill. That's
there you go. That's it. That's it.